To another report. I'm going to try to do the best I can to tell you a bit more about the next few days. This isn't really a great time to make this video, but I hope it's good enough. I just gotta stay on top of it and get through it. I don't really have any more time to put up. This is my last moment. I have to make these next few days, so. Alright, so May 1st, Friday, is going to begin with Moon sextile Venus, Moon in conjunct Neptune in the morning, and Moon oppose Mars in the morning. And then the Moon is going to leave the sign on the morning of the next day. But that just means this is the last major aspect until Saturday at midnight. And then Moon in conjunct Pluto retrograde and Moon in conjunct Jupiter in the evening. That's easier than, of course, you remember how you felt on this day. Moon opposing these planets, so not nearly as difficult. Like, we're working with it. It's just like kind of like a zany, like out of joint kind of mood, because the Moon in void of course in Leo can work with Capricorn area of life in that kind of in a way that doesn't really make sense, but it works. Like it's gonna work. So wherever those two areas are in your life, Leo and Capricorn. So on the next day, we're going to have Moon trine and sextile the nodes of fate right after it goes into Virgo, and make it in conjunction to Saturn. And then, so that in the morning here we'll have this, and in the afternoon, in the later in their day, we have Moon trine Uranus. And of course, that's going to be interesting in the mix. I don't talk about this really very much, the Chiron aspect, but that's like kind of like emotional wounds, or like how we approach emotional wounds, but emotional wounds really shows up with Pluto too. So I think of Pluto more of that, but Chiron is like, I don't know if I know about Chiron well enough to explain about it to you, unfortunately. But we'll have a trine with these planets, probably just with some it's just like a personal kind of discomfort. It's like unique to you. It's not like, it doesn't have to be trauma. It's just like, if you have Chiron in the 6th house, then like you're probably like traumatized around the idea of working, like the things you do every day, like strict disciplining parent, around like your chores. That would be like a Chiron in the 12th house, or a Chiron in the 6th house sort of expression. So Aries there. And then on Sunday, I think I'm going to try to get through Sunday. And here's the reason that this report is coming out all over the place. Like, is this aspect that we're building to, Venus square Neptune, like it's like this dreamy quality that's come over everything, and it's like just gonna get more intense until Sunday evening. I'll pull out my notes for that because we talked about it last week, of course, because I'm trying to be aware of it coming in. Where's that note sheet? Okay. Yeah, so this is the very challenging, dreamy expression around our values. Or our values and like the way places we're finding value, and our relationships are just taking on a surreal kind of character It's going to make us more susceptible to addiction, poisoning, overdose. This also could like mean people are going to get more sick, because Neptune rules poisons, and we were looking at Neptune around the beginning of the virus and how it was activated with Pluto. Um, and like Venus is what we value. So that could get really difficult, and like it's just too idealistic and disappointing. Like we're disappointed and it doesn't match reality. We're defeated and it doesn't match reality. Um, Possible losses and upsets are going to be more possible. So it's a dangerous sort of condition, and I hope you've noticed that there's something like this going on, because it's very subtle. Like it's like kind of hard to tell, but it's like around our values. But it's making it very hard for me to focus on this video all week. It's just been getting a little bit worse with my ability. But the moon on Monday, May 4th, is going to go into Libra in the morning. So I forgot to mention, but all these 2 days we were focused like on like efficiency, like getting things done kind of deal. Like we're working it with our emotions, like with the things that we do every day. So that might be difficult if you're trying to just kind of have an easy day on Saturday, because we're going to be in the mood to like focus on health, focus on healing, focus on our routines. So that could be really helpful, like if you have a good routine on Saturday, or to set up a good routine. I'm not going to do any work, but I will be like reading the Bible, you know, just probably a very emotional day that'll be flowing with our feelings. And wow, it's Neptune square Venus is making this hard to think. Okay, so Monday, May 4th, the moon is going to pass the nodes of fate. And I think we'll get to that when I get to that, but I want to look at that day, because that's I want to see where the moon's going to be at that time. Yeah, so this is like on this side of the sky now. So like we've really reached a peak with it's a peak emotional moment is what I'll say. And here in our area, it's going to be around money and finances, at least some of the day. Let me look back at that chart. Oh man, I gotta block that out now. Darn it. Well, cool. So $4:45, huh? Yeah, really be careful this week, because I feel like nobody's thinking clearly right now, and it's just part of it. Like, if you're feeling that, I feel like you're probably doing your best too, but it's like, wow, like the way we're thinking and the way our interacting is just like too deeply affected by a dream around all this up here, around our work and our it goes both ways too, because it's like, are we having a bad dream about what's happening? Are we having a good dream about what's happening? It's just the fact of it is that we're just like living in part of this dream experience here with this. That's just like the mood. Or that's what we value, really. The mood is going to be this. we're going to be in the mood for. Looks like partnership things here in GMT -5. Yep. So before I get too horribly off track, let's just assume that I can make it to Tuesday, and we're gonna try to power through it as best as I can. Well, at this moment, it's just gonna be a really critical, fateful moment. That's emotionally. That's all you need to know. Just a lot of changes, and like we're feeling the restriction, and we're looking like we're working with like something new, and we're really, I don't know. Wish I could read those runes better for you, but we'll see what notes I got, okay? I made notes for everything, so we're just gonna follow the notes and see where we get, because it's just too much right now, isn't it? It's just way too much. Okay, but May 1st, Friday, at 6:15. Moon sextile Venus. So tomorrow morning, Friday, our emotions, values, and activity are in sync. We have an opportunity to work together. Tender, loving, acting on this with many different roles in our life. Break from the madness, perhaps. Probably, maybe we'll wake up feeling better. Just so I have here just and this is a great time to pursue honesty and openness and real love in your relationships. It's a great time for your love life, despite other circumstances, because we are caring from a fiery, from the heart way. That's what I got there. Because of, like, this is like really what the moon was going for. Like, we've been going for since we went into Leo. Finally, the moon has something that it can work with. Like, it was kind of hard up until like the evening to really get what we were going for. So it looks like we're gonna get more what we were going for by tomorrow morning. Cool. Yeah. So next in the morning we have 7:51. Looks like the moon in conjuncts Neptune. So we're emotionally picking up on the dream world thing. Romantic, idealistic mood. Avoid projecting more onto others than they can live up to. I feel like that's really good advice. Do not unfairly appraise yourself either. We'll be extra sensitive emotionally. So just trust your higher power that you believe in. Trust God. Another possibility is that it's like too many or conflicting emotions, and isolation might be dangerous at this point. So get out. Don't be paranoid. Don't be mistrustful. Believe that there's a higher purpose to this, and just, you can get through it that way. But we value it, so just take that action. Even it's a really pivotal, fateful action. So just like do it for good. So after that, we got moon. So the moon, okay, this is the last one, obviously. So the moon is obviously going to push past the opposition to Mars, right there, and then go void. So in the midst of this, like, we'll probably be kind of moody or short-tempered. So yeah, channel that energy into a worthy pursuit or a sport. Very strong desire at this point, but it is kind of dangerous. But just go with it, So just don't be selfish and consider others' needs, and be aware Others could be aggressive too. So, you know, don't get into a conflict that's not right. Like value. Like I hope your values are like well established enough with you that you won't like make a choice on bad values. Okay. And at the end of the day, we've got Pluto retrograde in conjunct the moon. So the moon's picking up on this like extreme power vibe, and like, if you have emotional traumas, like you might struggle with them more. But just find get with your people and be comfortable. During this time, like in the afternoon. And we're both living in this right now. We both know that it's kind of like an end of the world kind of life out there, at least like what people imagine that's like. So like you're a strong person, like you're gonna live through this, like that's so good for you. So like look for like the fatal good aspects of like the extreme change and so on too. Like find hope in like something worthy of your hope. God, like find hope in the right place. It's a good opportunity to find that. Last thing for this day is 1728, which is moon in conjunct Jupiter. So we've been doing this like Pluto Jupiter thing with the moon for like a few days now. So it's just more of that, and like it'll be good. Like there'll be some good natured like feeling and like connection will come up out of this. So it'll be worth it. But people could be exaggerating, that could get uncomfortable. Cool. So now that we're on May 2nd, Saturday, I can tell you about a few aspects that are coming up. These aren't today, but like we have what to look forward to. Venus is going to sextile Jupiter, and it's going to enter the 10th degree of that sextile from our perspective on May 7th. And that seems like something weird to tell you because it's about like 2 weeks from now. But like Mercury's going to, if I said Venus, I'm sorry, but I meant Jupiter. Like this sextile is going to happen over here. Like Mercury is going to go, if I'm not completely misreading that, and I could totally be, somehow that doesn't make any sense to me why I would have wrote that down, Mercury sextile Jupiter on the 7th? Really? That doesn't make any sense at all. Trine Jupiter? Is that what I meant to write down? Yeah. Somehow when I was troweling for like aspects through my tables, I put that down. But that doesn't make sense. I'm sorry I wasted your time with that. I'm not going to talk about these aspects because honestly, this is just shooting a little bit too high to try to do this right now. I'm just going to try to tell you about the facts as best I can. So, like, leaving that on May 2nd. .35 a.m. Moon moves into Virgo. And that's an emotional need to keep busy, like we talked about earlier. So, like, you're going to want to keep busy. I feel like it's best to rest. Like, find busyness in your rest there. Don't get self-critical either, Do the best you can. because the moon, so we got this grand trine aspect that's going to form. So once that's like setting up all day, because we're going to talk about this too. And this, that's like a great, that's a good time. So I mean, get spiritual in like a Virgo moon way. Like that's like a fateful aspect. Our emotional choices have a fateful impact there. Let's see. There's something difficult coming up though, and that's, well, it's not difficult. We're just like using this to like emotionally confront the difficulty around the restrictions. So like Virgo's trying to help out with Aquarius things there, which is a little different. So we're emotionally trying to deal with that, but we have a lot of fateful support and support from the radically new thing here. So we're finding harmony difficult to maintain, emotional coldness, guilt, or fear. That's from Saturn. But later on that day, so all this goes on to bring about change and excitement, chance encounters, ask someone out on a date. You have a need for a thrill. Good time to initiate anything new. So yeah, that looks like a great time because there's just going to be all that support. This is a really interesting aspect. This is almost a kite aspect right here. I think it is a kite aspect. So that's a really powerful, like the nodes, like fate, our fate is like pulling this major thing, like very big event there. Other big players are Saturn and Saturn might be the biggest driving force behind all this because it's a stress aspect and these are all harmonious aspects. But this is going to be pulling a lot of weight too, like our thinking and our personality and our desire for the unusual in this, ordinarily more fixed area of our life. All these Taurus things, we're on board with that, and like Saturn is stressing that, and we're having to find this very great emotional balance with that. So, hope that's good for you. Also, I have with Moon trine Mercury that our feeling intuition is balanced and working well with our thinking. It's easy to read others and the situation. So, yeah, it's just that's a pretty great moment. Whatever this is for you, just soak it in. It's good stuff. And by the evening, the moon has perfected a trine to the sun. So like we have this grand trine with 3 different planets and the moon with the nodes, and that's pretty incredible. So like the moon is moving past some fateful, like powerful, transformative changes based on the things that we started over here during the new moon. So it's a great change. Like that's a great time. And by the evening, it looks like moon trine sun means there's a little drama or obstacles around whatever you're trying to do. It's easy to be yourself. There's harmony in your relationships. It's a good time to promote yourself publicly if that's what you have to do. So that's a great time. But as soon as that's going to give way to some, a T-square with this. So this isn't over. Like we have to really emotionally confront the dream world kind of thing, and that's what Sunday is going to be about. Because we're going to have to make a T-square with Venus, the moon, and Neptune. But I feel like the previous day really changed things, so we're going to be in a good position for our values to have to change here. And of course, that Venus is going to start going into shadow next week, so it's going to start moving backwards. basically around mid-month. So, like, look out for, like, what this means. Like, are you in an illusion around what you do with your money? Are you in an illusion around how you deal with your society? Are you in an illusion really around your values and where you find pleasure? So, you definitely are under an illusion. But how, like, don't get tripped up with that emotionally. You know, face it. But it's gonna be hard to notice, and it's really just gonna. So try to be aware of it. See what you can do with that when you're aware of it, because that's what's gonna make the difference. Okay. So to talk a little bit more about this day, I think that's the brief on what it's about. So the moon's gonna be pushing through, and the first aspect it actually makes is in the morning here. Unless I'm totally missing something. Some reason I put 10:05 for the perfection time for. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. For moon, square Venus. Strong emotional need for pleasure through love, affection, where you find value in our society. Not a great aspect for going to work. Better to find pleasure in your friendships or whatever brings you joy. New relationships are challenged. Avoid spending too much money. Make extra effort, compromise to maintain harmony. So that's a challenge, and the moon is simultaneously being challenged by the opposition to Neptune, which is about an increased emotional sensitivity to extreme misunderstanding. Sorry, that's true what I said, but I misread it, actually. Increases emotional sensitivity to an extreme misunderstandings, likely. Also, our own selves, as in, we're more likely to understand our own selves here, as well as other people. Wrong impressions, seeing people inaccurately, idealization, avoid gossip, drugs, and alcohol. Extra susceptible to illness. Try to relax with music or a movie, and not take anything too seriously or go off the deep end. So it's hard. That's going to be really challenging, because we're going to be emotionally really picking up on that. So those are going to really factor, starting in the morning to all day. But don't be afraid, don't be dismayed. So later on that day, the moon and the Mars are going to make this in conjunction around 15:45. Over emotional need for a routine, which makes sense. That's how it would be in Virgo. Around health is interacting in a odd way with our rebellious mood. So the way we are taking action in Aquarius is obviously very rebellious, and like just coming out in unexpected areas, like doing activity. It's kind of like like connections in a computer, like a motherboard. Like all this distributed like connections. That's like Aquarius, and we're really on board with acting like that. But it's different. It's really different, and we're immediately after that, the rest of the day, the moon's going to trine Pluto and Jupiter, of course, and then go void, of course, after that, and make a T-square to the nodes. And that's actually on Monday. But to finish with Pluto and Jupiter, so we'll be extra emotionally sensitive and have intense emotional contacts. So this is very emotional Virgo moon. It's going to be we're going to want to like try to have all of our T's crossed and our I's dotted on every level emotionally, but it's still gonna be a lot more than we can do. We can't do our way out of it emotionally. We're just gonna have to feel it. Yeah, a destiny encounter is more likely at this point. Transformation by an intense emotional encounter would happen at this time too. And that'll give way to good feelings, positive for your social life, and more generosity with Jupiter in the mix. Like that, Jupiter really helps this not just be super, all about the flowing power. It's like it's about the good too. It's about the good. All right, and at the end of the day, the very last thing that happens is Venus goes exact with the square to Neptune at 22:53. So this is almost a Grand Cross aspect with Chiron, which is anything. Like, that's interesting. That's these emotionally pained areas of your life could take an extra hit. For everybody. So you remember what I said about Venus, Neptune? It's partly the reason why I can't explain anything to you properly right now, because it's just too confusing. It's like like an illusion to your consciousness. Like, it's really really difficult, especially if your personal planets are like in the man. see what I'm telling you right now. Like, if you have planets in Gemini or Virgo or Capricorn, man, I can't even tell you what this is, but like the cross that's being made with these planets, I guess it's gonna really hit you like with an illusion that you can't even quite put your finger on. Like, that's really like the what the core of that is. And like, values are just gonna be really weird. Like, what's valuable is gonna not be valuable 10 minutes later. Like, it's just like, avoid getting really scammed by something if you can. I understand it if you can, because like, it's so enticing. It's like a dream world. It's like a mirage, maybe. Hopefully it doesn't go down like that for you. You don't lose a lot of value. Okay. So that last things I need to say about this week, probably Monday and Tuesday. And I know this video is probably already 10 hours long, I cannot condense it right now. But on May 4th, Monday, the moon is going to leave Virgo, go void of course, and then enter into Libra. So we'll be emotionally connected to the small graces of life, gifts, elegance. Libra is all about like elegance. Elegant emotions are important, like grace. The way we're gracefully handling this whole thing is like really great. I mean, it's challenging, but we have support from like the government. We have support from the restrictions. We have support from just sheer good luck, really. Goodness. It's helping out. Just push past this fatal connection we have to finances, government, and comfort over here. And this is like one of the last times the moon's going to do this. This might be the last time for Cancer for 19 years. So like, it's like a fatal emotional feeling around our homeland and the system. Okay. So that's that one. After that, the nodes thing. Challenges of balance with two extremes of fate. Keep the balance by keeping your hope alive in comfort and in safety for the future. So keep the hope alive. We've picked up on that lesson from Neptune, which is about faith. It's also about plagues. Like interesting thing to look at in that light. So yeah, we're picking up on Saturn. We're picking up on. I guess that's not until. No, it must have been the previous day. Yeah, we've already picked up on the trines to the other two planets, but now we've passed Saturn, which could bring like a sobering, like cold mood into it, but we won't really be challenged by that. It's just going to be there. It'll help us keep balance, like that, because Saturn is accidentally exalted in Libra, or no, it's actually exalted in Libra, which is difficult to understand. But like, it makes sense because Libra is the balances, so and Saturn is like the exactness of the rule of law, pretty much. So we'll be helped out a lot by that. We'll get through that for sure. Then later on in the day, the moon will in conjunct Uranus. Which just means we'll be like emotionally into this change of pace. Like we're like, Uranus is different. Like in conjunctions are different. Like we're just like into this new thing in like a really new kind of way. Like, and this is like a good one because like these are the two signs that are both ruled by Venus. So Venus is going to be in charge of this whole situation by May 4th at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday. It's just going to be really, really different, but we're probably going to be into it. It might be painful, but we'll be into it, and like ready to get on with our fates here. So, and at the end of the day, the Sun is going to conjunct Mercury at 1641. So that's the Mercury Cazimi. So our need to think about tangible resources is personal now. These thoughts dominate our personality as we are drawn to possibilities for the future of what we value and how it affects us personally. Where I said value there, you might want to change that for how we think about things and like how we organize things and how we communicate about things. But it's also going to be about what we value too, because Mercury is the dispositor of Gemini. So it's as if Venus is in Mercury right now, pretty much. So anything that happens to Mercury, it's really about what's happening to Venus, even though like they're not making clear aspect right now. It works that way with the rulers. So yeah, that makes sense why I wrote that. Okay, last day, May 5th, Tuesday. So the moon is going to inconjunct the sun. A lot of inconjunctions these few days, isn't it? Okay. Moon inconjunct the sun. The Taurus personality and the Libra mood. Picking up great flowing energy from Venus. That's this right here. That's like later on in the day. We're feeling different, but it's going well. We're willing to try out new sides of our person or our Taurus area of life. So like your Taurus area of life, you could be picking up on something different emotionally. And it could work well, could not work well. It's going to have like a unusual, this out of joint kind of character to it. We'll be picking up on our dreams with that too. So like that'll be good. Like that's just really different, and like that's just going to work really well with this thing up here. hopefully. Hopefully we won't be so confused by this point, and like we'll be like our thinking will be better after the Mercury Cazimi. Even if we're kind of like one track minded at that point. Yeah, so the next thing is Moon in conjunct Mercury. So the Sun and Mercury there, like that's our thinking is flowing with our emotions in an out of joint kind of way. That's going to be like good for where we're finding value, even though Venus is going to start slowing down. Got to remember that. So like it might not be everything we think it is. Like, and that's like this mixed with this. Like, might not be all that it looks like. All right. So, Moon in conjunct Neptune. It's this right here. So yeah, we'll be picking up on our dreams in a different way. While Venus makes it a grand trine. Wow, that's really incredible. That's quite a day for sure. And all the stress like coming onto the moon from Pluto and Jupiter later on in the day. Just like really expanding and like incredible, like intense power hitting our emotions, and that's affecting our values very naturally and affecting the way we're acting very naturally, and that's affecting like how we're really trying to find that real comfort now. Those are going to be flowing really in an interesting way, but just like watch out for your values. That's really, I think, the best thing to look at this week in general. Is like as a potential issue is like the way that we're thinking about what's valuable. It's going to be something to keep an eye on, because it might be an illusion, or you're working with illusions at this point. Like that's part of the problem. So our dreams and intuition are going to be flowing with our emotions, like regardless of how it's challenging the way we see things. Like they're going to be flowing. Our values are on board with our emotions. Moon trine Venus. Moon semi-sextile Pluto. And we've been building up to this for a few days. Our activity is on board to combat the extremes, or the extremes are like working powerfully with our activity now. So like the government changes might really be taking effect in a new major way at this point, that we found out about during these things. But the actual activity, like it's going to be a lot more emphasized. Yeah, we're driven to work by our inner compulsions, obsessions, to do deeply meaningful work. So whatever is going on, like it's going to have a lot of meaning, and it's going to have an excessive and extreme character to it. And I don't think this aspect will be that powerful for that long, but they're going to be working more intimately than even a semi-sextile would be. So good opportunity to work with that, and to not get too overwhelmed with that, hopefully. Because we're emotionally going to be challenged by that. When Moon squares Pluto, and hopefully by now we've been emotionally prepared to face the music about what's occurring around our fears, as Pluto further changes the powers that be in our Capricorn system of life. Like how the government works, like how the established structures function. Hopefully we're emotionally ready to face up to that. And our emotions are going to be really expanding, so like seek the good in that, and like don't get overwhelmed with the negative side, stick to the, hate to use that language, but like stick to the more good, like the good that you see in that, rather than like what you're afraid of with all that. Um, yeah, and by now our emotions are in tune with what we're doing, and we're ready to go forward with that. So that's a great place to leave off. It looks like so. We'll be ready to go forward with some big things this week, like fateful things, especially around our values and the way we find value and the way we find safety. And it's really where we're being challenged, and we're really thinking about things in a different way, and that's really going to take force this week. The changes in our thinking. Maybe we've already restructured, a lot of the way we think about things, and now where we're going forward with that. So be careful that you don't get in trouble because of, not seeing the value of things in the right way. Okay, I think that's just about everything I wanted to say. So thank you for listening, and hope God blesses your week, and in Jesus' name, have a great day.